There's no activity that's going to make a woman look like a man unless you do something to your endocrine system, meaning if you inject steroids into your body.
What if the one thing you wanted most slowly rebuilt you into someone you couldn't look at in the mirror?
In her final weeks, she was struggling.
I cannot stop the cough.
Not from one wrong choice, not from one weak moment, but from a decision made again and again, every morning, alone, before the sun came up. These women did not stumble onto steroids. They hunted them down. And in that hunt, they found something they never bargained for. Bodies that kept transforming long after they begged it to stop. These are 13 women's steroids rebuilt from the inside out. Number 13, Nicole Bass, the world's largest female bodybuilder. Nicole Bass was the kind of woman who could enter a room and make grown men move out of her way. At 6'2" and around 230 pounds, Bass was enormous. Her shoulders were wider than many men's, while her arms, chest, and back were covered in thick muscle. She discovered bodybuilding in 1985 and quickly realized that she had no interest in moderation. She wanted more weight, more repetitions, and more muscle. She trained until her hands bled and kept going. By the time she entered professional wrestling in the late 1990s, Bass had built a body unlike anything the industry had seen. She had the frame of a heavyweight athlete and looked capable of overpowering almost anyone around her. Wrestling turned her enormous size into an attraction, and Bass loved being known as the world's largest female bodybuilder. But all that muscle came with a partner: anabolic steroids. Eventually, that partner came to collect its price. Her jaw became wider and heavier. Her face changed, and her voice dropped into an extremely deep range she had never naturally possessed. These were not changes caused by lifting weights. The drugs were changing parts of her body that training could never touch. Bass denied using steroids. She claimed that hard training, fish, vegetables, vitamins, and the occasional off-season treat had created her enormous body. But while she continued denying the drugs, her health began falling apart. In 2006, steroid-related pancreatitis sent her to the hospital. Her pancreas had become dangerously inflamed. A stroke followed, along with a serious heart attack. Doctors warned her to stop the extreme training, and much of the giant muscle mass that had defined her slowly disappeared. In February 2017, Bass was found unconscious in her Queens apartment after another massive medical emergency. Doctors declared her brain dead and removed her from life support. She was 52. Number 12, Chyna, the woman who wrestled men. Chyna was the woman wrestling loved to watch and failed to protect. Joanie Laurer was unlike anyone the industry had seen. At 5'10" and around 200 pounds, she entered a world ruled by men and looked powerful enough to fight every one of them. She joined WWE in 1997 as the muscle behind D-Generation X. Soon she was lifting men, powerbombing them, and throwing them from the ring. In 1999, she became the first woman to enter the Royal Rumble. Behind the curtain, however, the story was darker. Her physique changed rapidly, and her voice became unusually deep. Anabolic steroids helped create the extreme size and power that made her famous. But Chyna denied using them until the end. When Dr. Drew asked Chyna about steroid use during celebrity rehab, she became angry and denied it. By then, though, her appearance had changed significantly. In 2001, her contract talks with WWE broke down, and she left the company. After that, her wrestling career faded, and the muscular look that had once made her famous became a reminder of the career she had lost. Alcohol and prescription drugs took control, and treatment failed to stop the decline. In April 2016, Chyna was found dead in bed at her home. She was 46. Alcohol, opioid painkillers, anxiety medication, and a sleeping drug had combined to kill her. Number 11, Joanna Thomas, a small body pushed too far. At 27, Joanna Thomas pushed her body fat down to just 2.6%. She had lost 30 pounds in 16 weeks, and veins covered her skin. That was the condition she believed she needed to reach the biggest stage in women's bodybuilding. Thomas started lifting seriously at 15. She weighed only 107 pounds and had grown up with asthma, but her body responded to weights with stunning speed. By 21, she had won the lightweight and overall titles at the British Championships. She became the youngest British woman ever to earn a professional bodybuilding card. During that rise, steroids entered the process. They helped her build far more muscle than her small frame would normally carry. At 5 feet 2 and roughly 135 pounds on stage, Thomas had 16.5-inch arms, a broad back, sharply cut shoulders, and thighs measuring about 24 inches. In 2001, she won the lightweight title at the Jantana Classic and reached the Emma's Olympia. 3 years later, cameras followed her through an even harsher contest diet. She trained at Gold's Gym in Venice and stripped away so much fat that a nutrition check put her below 3%. That level can stop a woman's monthly cycle. So much natural breast tissue disappeared that Thomas had breast implants. The final hours were brutal. She stopped eating and drinking to look even drier under the lights, knowing a thin layer of water could hide the muscle judges wanted. She placed second at the GNC Show of Strength, qualified for the Em's Olympia, and finished 7th there. But maintaining that body came with a heavy cost. Thomas suffered serious pain in her neck, back, and knees, severe joint damage, and trouble walking. After retiring in 2007, strong painkillers became part of her life. A car crash made her problems worse, and her drug use later included heroin. In April 2020, Thomas was found dead at 43 after accidentally taking a deadly mix of drugs. Number 10. Cris Cyborg, the 16-second steroid scandal. Cris Cyborg needed only 16 seconds to destroy Hiroko Yamanaka. She charged forward, dropped her with punches, and ended the fight. It looked like another frightening show of power from the Strikeforce champion. Then her drug test came back. Cyborg had tested positive for stanozolol, a muscle-building steroid also known as Winstrol. The sample had been collected one day before the fight in December 2011. Her victory was erased, her championship was taken away, and her license was suspended. She was also fined $2,500. The failed test hit so hard because Cyborg had built her name around overwhelming physical power. The Brazilian had entered mixed martial arts after training in handball and Muay Thai. After losing her first professional fight in 2005, she became a wrecking machine. At 5 feet 8 and around 145 pounds, Cyborg carried thick arms, broad shoulders, a powerful back, and sharply defined stomach muscles. Her body looked built to overpower smaller women, and stanozolol was made to increase muscle and strength. In 2009, she faced Gina Carano in the first major mixed martial arts event, headlined by 2 women. Carano was unbeaten and one of the sport's biggest stars. Cyborg trapped her against the cage and stopped her with 1 second left in the first round, taking the Strikeforce title and becoming the most feared woman in the sport. 2 years later came the Yamanaka fight and the test that changed how people viewed that dominance. Cyborg said a supplement used during her weight cut caused the result. But she also admitted that she was responsible for everything she put into her body and apologized to Yamanaka, the promotion, and her fans. The scandal could have ended her career. Instead, she returned and won championships in Invicta, the UFC, Bellator, and the Professional Fighters League. She became the first fighter to hold major titles across all 5 promotions. But the comeback never removed the stain. Every later victory carried the same question about how much of her terrifying power was natural. Number 9, Heidi Krieger, the teenager turned into an experiment. Heidi Krieger was 16 when East German coaches began giving her blue pills. They called them vitamins. The pills were oral turinabol, an anabolic steroid. Nobody asked whether she wanted it. She had entered a state sports school at 14 and trained with SC Dynamo Berlin, a club backed by the secret police. The system wanted medals, and Heidi had the frame for shot put. As the steroid doses rose, that frame changed fast. By the time she won Europe at 21, she weighed about 15 stone, roughly 95 kilograms, with a deep voice and facial hair. Ordinary clothes stopped fitting. The drugs also delivered what the coaches wanted. In 1986, Heidi threw the 4-kilogram shot 21.10 meters, nearly the length of a tennis court, and won the European title. Hidden records later showed that she received almost 2,600 milligrams of steroids that year. That was nearly 1,000 milligrams more than sprinter Ben Johnson used in his Olympic doping program. The medal looked like proof that the system worked. Her body told a different story. Years of chemically boosted training wrecked her muscles, joints, and spine. Even simple movement could cause severe pain. By 1991, at only 26, the damage had forced her out of sport. Heidi had questioned her gender before learning the truth about the drugs. In the 1990s, she transitioned and became Andreas Krieger. Andreas has never claimed that steroids alone created his identity. His anger is that officials flooded his teenage body with male hormones and took away his chance to understand himself without that interference. He later said, "The doping had killed Heidi." In 2000, Andreas testified when the people behind East Germany's doping machine went on trial. 2 senior officials were convicted for their part in harming athletes, including children. Andreas later gave away the European gold medal. Number 8, Candace Armstrong, the woman strangers mistook for a man. Candace Armstrong wanted larger arms and broader shoulders. What she got was a deeper voice, facial hair, stopped periods, and permanent changes to her sexual organs. Armstrong was a 28-year-old barmaid from London when her obsession began. She hated the way her body looked. She believed her hips and legs were too large, while her arms and upper body were too thin. She started pole dancing, joined a gym, and eventually trained for as long as 3 hours a day. Even after building muscle, Armstrong never felt large enough. She heard about steroids, bought them online, and began taking daily doses of trenbolone. Trenbolone is a powerful steroid developed for animals. At first, it delivered exactly what she wanted. Her arms grew, her shoulders widened, her back thickened, and her upper body became larger. But the male hormone effects did not stop when she reached her preferred size. Hair began growing across her face, stomach, chest, and back. Her voice became much deeper. Acne spread across her skin, her breasts flattened, and her periods stopped. Her clitoris also enlarged to about 1 inch and developed a penis-like shape. Armstrong made clear that it was not an actual penis, but the change was impossible to ignore. The transformation happened gradually. She shaved the new hair and tried to cover the other changes, which made it easier to keep using the drug. By the time she understood how far it had gone, strangers mistook her for a man. She began wearing men's clothing and avoided women's bathrooms because of the reactions she received. Armstrong found herself unable to stop. If she went one day without steroids, she felt as if her arms were already shrinking and wanted another dose. Number 7, Rika Reinisch, drugged at 14. Rika Reinisch was only 14 when her swimming coach handed her a small blue pill after training. He said it was good for her and would help her body recover faster. It sounded harmless, so she took it. He never told her that it contained oral turinabol, a powerful anabolic steroid made from testosterone. Reinisch was already a gifted backstroke swimmer, training for 7 or 8 hours a day at an elite East German sports school. At 5 feet 10 and about 132 pounds, she looked like a slim teenage swimmer, not a massive bodybuilder. Her shoulders and back grew strong, but there was no clear change to her face or voice. The pills helped her recover and train harder. Officials stopped giving them to her shortly before major events, giving the drugs time to leave her body before testing. Reinisch was 15 when she tied the world record while leading the medley relay. In the 100-meter backstroke heats, she lowered it by 1/100th of a second. In the final, she smashed it again, winning gold in 1 minute and 0.86 seconds. She then won the 200-meter backstroke in 2 minutes, 11.77 seconds. Another world record. Her relay team also won gold. She left Moscow with 3 gold medals and 4 individual world records set during the games. Then her body began to break down. Reinisch suffered severe stomach and menstrual pain, and doctors found that her ovaries were badly inflamed. In 1982, she collapsed during a training camp and had to be flown back to Dresden. A doctor told her to leave top-level sport immediately. Her swimming career was over at 16. Years later, Reinisch lost 2 pregnancies and developed an irregular heart condition that stopped her from doing serious exercise. After East Germany collapsed, secret records revealed the truth about the pills. The records showed that the drugs had improved her performance by about 6.5%. Number 6, Ines Geipel, 7 years of secret steroids. In 2005, former East German sprinter Ines Geipel did something almost unheard of. She asked officials to erase her own name from the record book. The record was a blistering 4x100-meter relay time of 42.2 seconds. Geipel wanted no glory from it because she knew what had helped create it. Her story began when she was 17. East Germany placed her inside its state sports machine, where young athletes were trained to win medals for the country. Coaches handed her small blue pills and called them vitamins. They were really oral turinabol, a powerful muscle-building steroid. Geipel took the pills for 7 years, until she was 24, without being told what they truly were. The drugs did not turn her into a huge bodybuilder. She stayed lean, but her body became unnaturally hard and strong. Her breasts shrank, and because nobody explained the pills, she assumed the changes came from training. That strength let her survive workloads her natural body could not have handled. She ran 100 meters in 11.21 seconds, covered nearly 23 feet in the long jump, and became one of East Germany's top sprinters. In June 1984, Geipel and 3 teammates ran that record relay. She was also chosen for the Los Angeles Olympics, but East Germany joined the Soviet boycott and kept its athletes home. Behind those performances, her health was being hammered. Geipel later suffered severe kidney trouble and said the drugs had poisoned her organs. She escaped to West Germany in 1989. Years later, after the scale of East Germany's secret doping program became public, she refused to let the record stand as a clean achievement. In May 2006, officials removed her name and put an asterisk in its place. Geipel then became one of the strongest voices for athletes harmed by the program. Number 5. Yulia Stepanova, the doper who exposed Russia. Yulia Stepanova helped expose one of the largest doping systems in sports history. But before she revealed Russia's secrets, she was one of the athletes using the drugs. Her coach introduced her to testosterone injections. Before long, the Russian 800-meter runner was also injecting EPO and swallowing oral turinabol. Her times quickly improved, and she earned a place on the national team. Stepanova never developed the huge build of a bodybuilder. She stayed lean, with a slim frame and powerful legs, while the drugs improved her strength and recovery. In 2011, she ran 800 meters in 1 minute, 56.99 seconds, and won bronze at the European Indoor Championships. The system around her made cheating feel normal. Stepanova said athletes could use testosterone and EPO during Russia's national championships, then send their sample numbers to a medical official. Positive tests could simply disappear. Then her health began to collapse. In 2012, Stepanova developed severe pain in her thigh and eventually struggled to walk. After using an infusion recommended by her coach, her heart began racing so violently that she feared it would stop. An ambulance had to bring her heart rate down. She later said the level of stored iron in her body rose to 20 times normal. A badly performed injection also left a hardened lump inside her buttock. Doctors warned that without treatment, the excess iron could poison her. In 2013, unusual changes in Stepanova's blood exposed her doping. She received a 2-year ban, and every result she had recorded since March 2011 was erased. Stepanova and her husband, Vitaly, then began collecting evidence. She secretly recorded coaches, athletes, doctors, and officials discussing banned drugs and hidden positive tests. In December 2014, those recordings appeared in a German documentary. The couple fled Russia with their son and eventually settled in the United States. Her evidence helped prove that Russia's doping was organized on a massive scale. Russian officials called her a traitor, and the Olympic Committee blocked her from competing in Rio. Number 4. Marion Jones. 5 Olympic medals erased. At the Sydney Olympics in 2000, Marion Jones became the first woman in track and field to win 5 medals at a single Olympic Games. She left with 3 golds and 2 bronzes. 7 years later, she handed every medal back. Jones had always been an extraordinary athlete. She dominated sprinting as a teenager, helped North Carolina win a national college basketball title, and became the 100-meter world champion in 1997. By Sydney, she was not simply trying to win. She had announced that she wanted 5 gold medals. At 5 feet 10 and about 150 pounds, Jones looked lean but exceptionally powerful. Her shoulders were broad, her arms were defined, and her legs carried the kind of muscle that exploded out of the starting blocks. But training was not the only thing driving that body. Beginning before the Sydney Games, her coach, Trevor Graham, gave her drops of a designer steroid called THG, or the Clear. It was created to avoid the drug tests used at the time. Jones later claimed Graham told her it was flaxseed oil. She kept taking it for roughly 2 years and noticed a clear drop in her performance after stopping. In Sydney, Jones won the 100 meters by a huge margin. She also won the 200 meters and the 4x400 relay, then took bronze in the 4x100 relay and long jump. No test caught the drug, and Jones spent years strongly denying that she had ever used anything illegal. The lie finally collapsed during the Balco investigation. When federal agents showed her a sample of the clear in 2003, Jones recognized it but denied using it. In October 2007, she admitted the truth in court. Officials erased all her results from September 2000 onward. Her 5 Olympic medals disappeared, and she was ordered to return hundreds of thousands of dollars in prize money. She retired immediately, and the former track millionaire was deep in financial trouble. Jones was later sentenced to 6 months in prison for lying about the steroids in a separate check fraud case. Number 3, Kelly White. World titles built on steroids. For 4 months in 2003, Kelly White took a hidden mix of drugs and passed 17 drug tests. By the end of that run, she had become the fastest woman in the world. White was born into sprinting. Her mother had competed at the Olympics, and White kept racing even after a knife attack at 17 left her needing more than 300 stitches. But by 2002, injuries and poor results had left her desperate. Through her coach, White entered the Balco drug program. She later admitted to taking THG along with EPO and stimulants. She placed drops under her tongue, rubbed a drug-filled cream onto her skin, and injected EPO into her stomach. The steroid helped build strength, while EPO allowed her blood to carry more oxygen during hard training. At 5'4" and around 135 pounds, White had a compact, muscular frame, powerful shoulders, and unusually thick thighs. The changes were not as extreme as a bodybuilder's, but on the track, the difference was explosive. At the World Championships in Paris, White won the 100 meters in 10.85 seconds. Days later, she won the 200 in 22.05, becoming the first American woman to complete that sprint double at a World Championship. Then, a test found modafinil, a stimulant White said she used for a sleep disorder. She initially fought to keep her medals, but after investigators raided Balco and found drug records, the larger truth came out. In May 2004, White admitted to using the steroid and EPO. Her 2 Paris gold medals vanished. Officials also erased every result she had recorded since December 2000, including earlier World Championship medals. She lost prize money, received a 2-year ban, and missed the Athens Olympics. White later explained that she believed doping was the only way to compete with rivals she suspected were also cheating. She retired in 2006. Number 2, Lyudmila Blonska, banned for life. Lyudmila Blonska stood on the Olympic podium in Beijing with a silver medal around her neck. Less than a week later, the medal was gone. She had been thrown out of the games, and her entire career was over. Blonska competed in the heptathlon, one of the hardest events in athletics. Over 2 days, she had to sprint, jump, throw, and run for endurance across 7 different events. At 5'9" and around 137 pounds, she was lean but powerfully built, with defined shoulders, muscular arms, and strong legs made for both speed and jumping. But this was not her first steroid scandal. In 2003, Blonska tested positive for stanozolol, a powerful muscle-building steroid. She received a 2-year ban and returned to competition in July 2005. Her comeback was immediate. She won the heptathlon at the World University Games that year. In 2006, she became the World Indoor Pentathlon champion. Then, at the 2007 World Championships, she scored 6,832 points and won silver. It was the best performance of her career. In Beijing, Blonska scored 6,700 points across the hurdles: high jump, shot put, 200 meters, long jump, javelin, and 800 meters. Only fellow Ukrainian Natalia Dobrinska finished ahead of her. Blonska also jumped more than 22 feet in the separate long jump competition, easily reaching the final. Then her urine sample tested positive for methyl testosterone. It is an anabolic steroid made from testosterone and used to increase muscle, power, and recovery. A second sample confirmed the result. The Olympic Committee stripped Blonska's silver medal and removed her from the long jump final before she could compete. Because this was her second steroid offense, Ukraine's Athletics Federation banned her for life. The story then became even darker. Blonska claimed her husband and coach, Serhiy Blonsky, had forced her to take the drug and had beaten her when she resisted. He also received a lifetime ban. Number 1, Nadzeya Ostapchuk, the champion whose coach spiked her food. Nadzeya Ostapchuk left the London Olympics as the strongest female shot putter in the world. 1 week later, her gold medal was gone. Shot put is built around pure explosive power. The women throw a metal ball weighing almost 9 pounds, and Ostapchuk could launch it farther than 70 feet. At about 5 feet 11 and more than 200 pounds, she had enormous shoulders, thick arms, and powerful legs that drove her entire body through each throw. Her greatest rival was New Zealand champion Valerie Adams, who had controlled the event for years. But in the London final, Ostapchuk finally crushed her. She threw 70 feet and 1 inch, beating Adams by more than 2 feet. Her 2 best throws were the longest seen in an Olympic women's final since 1988. Then the test results arrived. Ostapchuk had provided 1 sample before the final and another after winning. Both contained metinolone, an anabolic steroid used to build muscle while helping the body recover from hard training. The Olympic Committee disqualified her and gave the gold to Adams. Ostapchuk's coach, Alexander Yefimov, then made a stunning claim. He said he had secretly added the steroid to her food because he feared she was not strong enough to beat Adams. He believed the drug would leave her body before Olympic testing began. Ostapchuk said she knew nothing about it. That explanation helped reduce her first punishment to a 1-year ban. But the story did not end there. In 2013, officials retested a sample Ostapchuk had given at the 2005 World Championships. It also contained a banned anabolic substance. Her world title was stripped, years of results were erased, and she received a 4-year ban. Then, another old sample from the Beijing Olympics was tested again. It contained turinabol and a second banned drug. The bronze medal she had won there was removed as well. Thanks for watching. Now check out the videos popping up on screen for more unbelievable stories.